The galactic trade station orbited the binary stars of the Theta 9 system, a sprawling metal labyrinth where 1,000 species bartered, negotiated, and occasionally fought. In the lower commercial district, where the lighting flickered and the air recyclers hummed with mechanical exhaustion, a small figure pressed herself against a vendor stall. Lyrina clutched her datapad to her chest, her large amber eyes darting nervously across the crowded marketplace. Her species, the Valeni, were considered one of the lesser races by galactic standards. Small, fragile, with translucent skin that betrayed every emotion through subtle color shifts. They were traders and archivists, never warriors or diplomats. Here, so far from her homeworld, she felt like a leaf in a storm. She had come to purchase medical supplies for her colony ship, docked 3 levels above. The list on her datapad was long, but her credits were few. Every transaction mattered. Well, what do we have here? The voice boomed across the market space, causing several nearby merchants to glance up and then quickly look away. Lyrina's skin paled to near white as she recognized the speaker. Krathzek was a Dravakian enforcer, nearly 3 meters of scaled muscle and arrogance. His species had conquered 17 systems before the Galactic Council had forced them into compliance. Even now they held significant military and political power. Krathzek wore his status like armor, his crimson scales polished, his ceremonial blades crossed on his back. "A Valeni," he sneered, his forked tongue flicking out as he approached. "Shouldn't you be hiding in some archive counting dust particles? This is no place for prey species." Lyrina's skin flushed purple with fear. She took a step back, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm just purchasing supplies. I'll be gone soon." "Supplies?" Krathzek laughed, a harsh sound that drew a small crowd. "With what credits? Your people are barely worth the oxygen they consume. Perhaps you should beg. That's what lesser species do best, isn't it?" He reached out, knocking the datapad from her hands. It clattered to the metal floor, the screen cracking on impact. Lyrina dropped to her knees, desperately trying to gather the pieces, her eyes welling with tears that shimmered in the station's dim light. "Please," she whispered. You need to learn your place, insect." The crowd had grown larger now, a mixture of species watching with varying degrees of interest or apathy. No one intervened. That was the way of the galaxy. The strong dominated, the weak survived as best they could. Humans were recent arrivals to the galactic stage, still something of an unknown quantity, which was why no one noticed the figure that had been leaning against a support column, watching the scene unfold with increasing intensity. Aaron Vale had been on shore leave, enjoying the rare opportunity to explore the station without the weight of command pressing on his shoulders. He stood just under 2 meters tall, his build lean but powerful, his dark hair cropped military short. His eyes, a cold gray that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, tracked every movement Krathzek made. Humans had a peculiar reputation among the galactic community. They were neither the strongest nor the most technologically advanced. But there was something about them that made even veteran species uneasy. Perhaps it was their apparent fearlessness. Perhaps it was the way they bonded with other species, forming alliances that transcended pure self-interest. Or perhaps it was the quiet, controlled violence that lurked beneath their civilized exterior. Vale pushed off the column and walked forward, his movements economical and precise. The crowd parted instinctively, sensing something predatory in his approach. "That's enough," he said, his voice calm but carrying across the marketplace like a blade through silk. Krathzek turned, his eyes narrowing. "A human. This doesn't concern you, mammal. Move along before I—" He didn't finish the sentence. Vale's hand shot out, gripping Krathzek's wrist with enough force to make the enforcer's eyes widen in shock. For a species that prided itself on physical dominance, the ease with which the human held him was profoundly disturbing. "You were saying?" Vale's voice remained level, almost conversational, but his eyes had gone flat and cold. Krathzek tried to pull away, then tried to strike with his free hand. Vale moved with surgical precision, redirecting the blow and using the Dravakian's own momentum to spin him around and slam him face first into the vendor stall. The impact sent merchandise scattering across the floor. "Let me explain something," Vale said, leaning in close enough that only Krathzek could hear. "On my world, we have a saying, pick on someone your own size. You just failed that test spectacularly." He released the enforcer, who staggered back, his scales flushing dark with humiliation and rage. His hand moved toward one of the ceremonial blades on his back. Don't. The single word from Vale carried such absolute certainty that Krathzek's hand froze mid-reach. The human's posture hadn't changed. He hadn't drawn a weapon or adopted a fighting stance, yet somehow everyone watching understood that if Krathzek drew that blade, he would die. It wasn't a threat. It was simply a fact as immutable as gravity. The Dravakian's hand slowly moved away from his weapon. He straightened, trying to salvage some dignity. "This isn't over, human." "Yes," Vale replied quietly. "It is." Krathzek glared, then turned and pushed through the crowd, which parted rapidly to let him through. The spectators began to disperse. The free entertainment concluded. Vale turned to where Lyrina still knelt on the floor, carefully picking up pieces of her broken datapad. He crouched down beside her, his movements slow and non-threatening. "Are you hurt?" She looked up at him, her skin shifting through a rainbow of colors. Fear, gratitude, confusion. No, thank you. You didn't have to." "Yes, I did." He helped her gather the fragments, then stood and offered his hand. After a moment's hesitation, she took it, her small hand disappearing in his larger one. Vale examined the broken datapad, then pulled his own from his jacket. "What were you purchasing?" "Medical supplies. For my colony ship. But She gestured helplessly at the broken device. He nodded, accessing his credit account. "Give me the list. I'll handle it." "I can't let you. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing to help." His voice softened slightly. "Besides, where I come from, we look after each other. All of us." Over the next hour, Vale helped Lyrina acquire everything on her list, using his military credentials to negotiate better prices and his physical presence to ensure no one else tried to take advantage of her. They talked as they shopped, and Vale learned about her colony, about her people's history, about her dreams of becoming a medic. As they reached the docking bay where her ship waited, Lyrina turned to him, her skin glowing with warmth and gratitude. "Why did you help me?" "Your people. You're new to the galaxy. You don't owe us anything." Vale was quiet for a moment, looking out at the vast expanse of stars visible through the bay's transparent walls. "My grandmother used to say that you judge a society not by how it treats its most powerful members, but by how it treats its most vulnerable. I don't want humanity to be the kind of species that looks away when someone needs help." He smiled then, a rare expression that transformed his stern features. "Besides, something tells me you're going to do great things, Lyrina. The galaxy needs people like you, people with compassion and courage." As her ship departed and Vale made his way back to his own vessel, word of the incident spread through the station. The human who had humiliated a Dravakian enforcer without breaking a sweat. The human who had defended a Valeni girl for no reason other than it was the right thing to do. In the crew quarters of a dozen ships, in the bars and meeting halls of 100 species, beings who had considered humanity little more than aggressive newcomers began to reconsider. Perhaps these humans were different. Perhaps they represented something the galaxy had forgotten. That true strength wasn't just about domination, but about protection. Not just about taking, but about giving. And in a small colony ship heading toward the outer rim, a young Valeni girl looked at a human military badge, a gift from her unlikely protector, and made a promise to herself. Someday she would be strong enough to protect others just as she had been protected. The galaxy was changing, and humanity, with all its flaws and contradictions, was showing that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe wasn't technology or military might. Sometimes it was simply giving a damn.